What is going on, Generation Crypto? Finally got some pretty high speed internet going. We can finally do these power hours on dual stream. Real quickly, Facebook, YouTube, guys, let me know how audio is and how the stream quality is right now. Before we dive in, I want to get a quality check. Say hi on Facebook, say hi on YouTube. So I know you guys are there, and let me know how audio is. And as usual, we're going through a standard power hour, so I'm going to go ahead and cover the market cap. I'm going to cover BTC or XBT. I'm also going to cover Ether, and then we'll go into some altcoins. And towards the end, I'll take altcoin requests from you guys. I'm going to take priority, or Discord requests for altcoins are going to take priority over Facebook and YouTube. So if you guys are not on our Discord, go ahead and click the link in the video description. That'll get you in our Discord channel, and a request there is going to have priority over Facebook or YouTube. All right, we got Sochi and Keith on YouTube. How's it going, guys? It's Friday. I know it's a good Friday. It's a great Friday. Got some high-speed internet in beautiful San Juan, right? It's pretty exciting. Also, tomorrow, about same time, actually noon Central Standard, I'll be doing the strategies workshop, right? So for premiums and VIPs, we've covered quite a bit of indicators and how to use them. So tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and help you guys get set up like a Coinigy template, very similar to the templates that I run. So you can start strategizing using a combination of indicators. Anyways, let's start diving in. We see BTC coming down. We see the market cap shrinking. What is going on a technical standpoint, right? Fundamentally, we know CNBC had talking heads, and I do have a video that I did off our porch a couple of days ago on that. So I'm not really going to go into what's going on fundamentally with the price suppression pre-consensus, but I'm going to strictly dive into what's on the chart and where I see the bounce and where I'm placing my long entries for the leg up. What's my BPS? Keith, can you expand on BPS? Randy Jones, what's going on? Bandwidth. Oh, I got 15 megabytes per second up. So, what happened on BTC? Where are we at? What are some key levels to look at? Well, this reversal to the upside was followed by an Adam and Eve. This is going to be your Adam formation and the Eve formation. I actually talked about these months ago, after the Adam shaped up. We wanted to see the Eve, and I kind of misdrew the Adam, but essentially the Eve is right around here, right? It's gonna be quite lower. They want to match as far as height goes. So this is a bullish formation. It's somewhat of a bottom formation. But then when we got into this uptrend, right, we saw somewhat of a head and shoulders forming, and now we're seeing a pullback. My target on this, I actually posted on the pullback in Saber Notes on Discord. So if you guys with Discord access, you check Saber Notes, you should be able to see that I did say we're going to see an incoming pullback because I saw an RSI divergence on the top right here. These two tops were divergent. Now, looking at this pullback, it did not hold at the 23% fib. It shot straight through the 38% fib, and now we're seeing what looks like a bear flag. This looks very much like a bear flag, and it looks like it wants to break down. And make myself smaller. Awesome. So this looks like a bear flag. A 50% retracement here is going to be nice. So this level might hold. We might actually see 8300 hold or 8294, right? But based on the head and shoulders, the target is going to be lower. It's going to be slightly above that 61.8. So At 7,900 mark is where I'm gonna pre-run some orders personally. Randy, since you're in the chat, my beats per second are fired up. I'm so excited to see you. Anyways, um, so back to BTC, we got this bear flag shaping up. I do believe we're gonna probably see a little bounce here, but I'm not gonna pre-run anything at the 50%. If I'm pre-running, I'm gonna run it at that 61.8, just because it's where the head and shoulders coincide. Sorry, it's where the Adam and Eve coincides, right? So it'd be testing that new bottom. And for the head and shoulders target, I'm gonna go ahead and draw that out. This would be our left shoulder. That's the head. And the right shoulder is a little smaller, but we did see some consolidation right here. And you know, ideally, it's going to be however many points from the neckline to the head would be the exact mirror of the target for head and shoulders. So if we were to do a price change percent up and take it straight perpendicular from the neckline to the head, I think it was like 10.8, 11%. And then we drag that straight down to the neckline. And we're looking at that 79 mark, right? That's where I'm getting the target for the head and shoulders, and that's where I'm getting my entry from. You guys have any questions on BTC XBT, the chart, before I move forward? I'm gonna go ahead and highlight also the RSI divergence I saw, and it was on a 1 day, so it's pretty big. And the bear div I saw was from this top to that top, right? It's pretty prominent. We saw a higher high on a much lower RSI high. I'm just gonna blow this up a bit since it is a 1 day chart. Right, so it's a clear bearish div, and now we're headed back down. And I did post on that on Monday. I'll go ahead and pull that post up. And those in Saber notes. And here it is, right? Bearish div, BTC 1 day RSI. ADX has room for downside. 50% racement would put us back at the Adam and Eve. We're still not at the 2338, and this was Monday at 8:44 a.m. So 5 days ago, I posted on this incoming dip, and here we are. Some of you guys traded accordingly. We did see a few of the VIPs margin trade the dip. They short sold, and they did pretty awesome. One of our newest subscribers up like 400%. Jofdom, good job, Jofdom. If you're in the chat, give me a shout out. And then Johnny Lee knocked out 2 back-to-back shorts, and the guys are running it all the way down. So moving along, I'm going to cover market cap, right? There's not much happening. It was at 382 billion earlier, so it's kind of inching its way back up. We're at that 390. I want to be back over 400. That would be the ideal scenario. As for, I don't see like any prominent formations, and I do believe this is a suppression dip before consensus, because year after year, BTC and a lot of alts rally post consensus. This year, there's going to be 3 times the attendees as last year. So that's going to give us an indication of like market participants and actual interest. And people going to consensus are paying, you know, $1,800, $2,200 a ticket. So we're also going to have boots on the ground at consensus. 2 of our GC associates are going to be there, and they're going to be reporting back with any findings, any interesting talks, any plausible plays for us to review. So we're going to have quite a bit of details coming out of consensus. We're just going to compare market cap of BTC, or overall market cap, and then market cap of BTC without alts. Thank you, Watchman. I tried. Thanks for... What's going on, Joel? There you are. Joel's on YouTube, up 400% on the dip. Way to go. Congratulations, man. So market cap with BTC and without BTC is looking very much similar, right? We're seeing the two charts mirroring each other, and that tells us that everything is shrinking. It's not alts are gaining on BTC or anything. As for market dominance, we're seeing alts, I was talking about market dominance at that 25 range. What's going to happen at 25? Because we haven't seen that market dynamic happen in crypto yet, right? And I said 25 is going to be a ceiling or a new level of resistance that we're just going to break through. And it ended up being a new level of resistance that we did break through. Alts got up to 27% market dominance, and BTC was at a 36, not a 32, which is the lowest. And now we're starting to see that pushback. Coming up to that new high, we did see a lot of sell-offs. So some market participants were aware that, hey, this thing is going to come back down, or we're going to have a pullback. But I don't think this is going to be a major sell-off. I think this is a correction. We'll find out what happens at the 50% fib and the 61.8. If these fail, then there's bigger forces at play. But I do think, when I published on 4/7 that we're going to see a green quarter, and we saw the rally happen last month, then moving into this month, we're starting to see a correction with consensus around the corner. I do believe my prediction is going to be 11K for the end of the month. And I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. It's just what I'm seeing happening in the market based on year-to-year data. So the last 4 years, we did have a green second quarter, and we are being hit by a FUD round. The Korean exchange being rated yesterday, added to the sell-off. The CNBC talking heads added to the sell-off, and so on. So actually, they started the sell-off. But I'm in a crypto for a long term, so I'm not gonna completely pull out of the market. I'm just gonna hedge properly. So whether it's shorting for a hedge or riding the alts that have an inverse correlation for a hedge, those are gonna be my options. As far as let's cover some BTC futures, the M18 future is at 86. It's slightly bearish, and so is that one. They were at like 10.7. They were really bullish a few days ago, and now we're seeing them just kind of dive down. But I do trade perpetual futures, not the monthlies, right? That's just what I trade. All right, guys, give me some altcoin suggestions, and you guys want to give me some altcoin suggestions? I'm gonna take 3 at a time, right? So I'm gonna take 3, and then I'll ask for more. I don't want to get all the channels flooded out with alts. Awesome. All right, we got WTC, we got NEM. Okay, I'll take one more from Discord, and then ADA, as always. Awesome. Okay, pause, guys. I'll ask for more when I'm ready. So, Walton Chain. We're gonna, real quickly before I start diving into alts, we're gonna see a lot of market unison because BTC in the sell-off. We're gonna see a lot of alts essentially mirroring each other. And once they're mirroring each other, I don't want to spend too much time on them. So I'll cover them, right? But then if they're all looking the same, you're gonna say, you know, unison and move on to the next one. Probably cover more in less time. So one day wise, we didn't quite enter the overbought range, right? But then if we look historically at WTC's RSI, we start seeing some RSI support, several levels of RSI support where it doesn't really like to get oversold on a one-day chart. And it looks like, you know, we're breaching the first level of RSI support. There's another level of RSI support at like 37.5. That's strictly just based on RSIs. So we could end up back in that oversold range on WTC Walton. Getting switch strategies a bit. Moving averages, they still look somewhat promising for an upwards rally. Stochastic RSI is showing a, not sure if it's a bullish divergence yet. Not quite, almost of a bullish divergence. It just needs to dip a little lower. But then ADX is at 20 in a downtrend. It's actually coming down, right? So one thing, back to BTC real quick. I want to highlight that before we move forward. I was looking at the BTC 3-day chart on Bitfinex. And this downtrend, right? It's on a falling ADX, which is good, and it's at an ADX of 14, right? So as long as the ADX remains coming down, right? As long as our average directional index keeps coming down. What do we know about ADX? You guys in Discord, you guys I've taught you guys about ADX. ADX is the trend assessment, and there are two turning points for the ADX along with the trend. The peak and the trough, right? The peak's going to be the top, the trough's going to be the bottom. So looking at BTC's one-day chart or 3-day chart, we see ADX peak, and now we're approaching an ADX trough, right? And if we were to compare this with the last dip down here, or, you know, the last correction, the one that everybody's comparing the current one to, which is 2014 bear market, which was 2 years. And let me go ahead and zoom in so we really get an ADX level here. Now zoom back out. So we're seeing, based on the you know, back 2015, 2014, 2015 bear market, the ADX turned at, you know, if 13 to 12 ADX level coming out of the downtrend, and that's going to be this area right here, right? That coincides with this trough on ADX. That's why I wanted to highlight that before we move forward anymore. Now, as long as this ADX keeps coming down and it achieves another trough, then we can assume that BTC is going to head back up, right? Because the trend tends to turn on an ADX peak and on a bottom. So the fact that it's a downwards ADX with not much room to go further down, that's one of the reasons I'm still bullish on BTC, and I think this is just a temporary pullback. Are we good on what I just covered? Sorry to hop off an altcoin just to do this. I felt like this is pretty important, right? And then we do see like a lower trough historically ever at 10. And once again, we're not doing this on ADX. If the ADX was starting to go up in a downtrend, I would say, guys, run the other way. This thing's toast. There's a lot more room to go up than room to come down. All right, back to WTC. So once again, we got a downwards ADX. Our stochastic is in that oversold range. I'm gonna go to a 4-hour. And we're coming back down. There's a bearish div right around the last two peaks. So we see a higher high on a lower stochastic high, and that's not good, right? On a stochastic, we want to see it start coiling up right in the top. We want to see an upwards coil in this area, and we're not seeing that. But we're also seeing somewhat of a exaggerated bullish div right here. I wouldn't essentially trade that. One thing Cypher and I, one of our analysts and I were talking about earlier, is we're looking at tokens that we can put BTC in at that bounce point at the 61.8, so we can gain some BTC value on the recovery end of the cycle. And I'll talk about some of those tokens shortly. NEM, XCM. And let's go on Vortex. So throughout the bear market, NEM hit that support range of 30 to 35, rallied upwards. I did see an inverse head and shoulders before the dip, right? But because this is a market unison dip, it's not NEM just dipping on its own, because everything in the market is taking that dip. It's somewhat of a different scenario, right? Once again, we're in market unison. We do see the stochastic coils, and then now we're seeing, the ADX kind of going up, but the trend is coming down on a 4-hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch like a 2-hour chart to try to separate that. And that's where we see the ADX turning. So I'd like to see a turn, and NEM's a strong token fundamentally, and the reason this sell-off happened was because of the NEM hack, right? And we know it's recovered from that, so it's just time. It's going to be a matter of time before the chart recovers and heads back up. I do believe NEM can attain a new all-time high. This is looking at the one-day chart, right? This is a pretty bullish chart. We're seeing higher lows and very similar highs. So in the long term, so long as it doesn't, do a capitulation point, right? We might even see this. This is like a stop hunt, right? Severe stop hunt, capitulation point, shake everybody out of the market for the upwards rally. And this might be what we're seeing here, because before the market unison dip, I had seen a flag / pennant on NEM that had like an inverse head and shoulders inside of it. Just a lot of bullish findings on NEM before the drop happened. So this would probably be like a possible opportunity to add for the rally. Next up, I'm moving to ADA. Once again, what did I say about market unison before? Before even diving into alts, it didn't look quite like NEM did, right? Where we see this somewhat of a rising wedge on a 1-day. I'm going in like a 4-hour. Try to dissect that more. Add a regular RSI. And there was a bear div, so I would wait for the next bullish div before re-entering ADA. So we see this bear div on a 4-hour where we see a higher high on a lower RSI high, and then here we're trying to enter the oversold, just entered oversold, and I'd want to see it touch oversold again before another rally. And this one's moving in unison. You're seeing a lot of these tokens rebound. Now, one token that got our attention that is in unison, that did the actual dip but actually rebounded a little harder, was BAT. So BAT actually, moved right back up. We saw two bearish engulfing candles, and followed by a bearish engulfing candle, and now we're seeing the second one form. So this is going to be one of the stronger, one of the tokens with more upwards momentum. For you guys that are subscribers, make sure you, if you're looking for, that volume change, pull up our volume monitor, log in a Coin Observatory, and start hunting down these positive net volume tokens. And I'll cover lumens here in a bit. I did publish on lumen on the capitulation point, the next buy-in and accumulation earlier this week. Poly, right, one of our picks, is still rallying up, so Poly's looking good. And it's actually held up. Poly has really held up well for this sell-off. I'm gonna cover ZRX. Rumor has it ZRX is getting listed on Coinbase, right? If you type in ZRX on Google, the first suggestion is ZRX based Coinbase. And so I'm not sure if it's just a rumor or what, but we did signal ZRX a long time ago, right in this range at like the 77. And we have made an astronomical gain, right? 173%. I did put out the first profit-taking signal. Our algorithm today pushed out another profit-taking signal. So, and that's based on divergences, right? So we're seeing these bear divs happen, but we're seeing the chart defy them. I think it's only going to defy divergences a few times, unless there's something really in the works. Here we're seeing these higher highs on RSI, sorry, these higher highs on the chart, and we're seeing lower highs on RSI. As for the ADX levels, we're seeing lower peaks. Let me go to 1 day. I'm probably going to switch to a Binance chart because it's been trading on Binance for longer, just to see where our current trend is in relation to the previous trend. All right, so we broke the last all-time high, and we know when tokens breach an all-time high, nobody's going to want to short them just yet. But we're still seeing this bearish div, and I'd like to see, in this scenario, I'd like to see the stochastic still coiling at the top. So I do think that ZRX is going to be due some kind of correction, unless there is a catalyst like being listed on Coinbase and it's just insiders loading up. One piece of insider knowledge we have on ZRX is that it is on that ERC20 token list that's going into institutional custodian, right? So it's on the custodian list for institutions. So institutions can actually buy ZRX and store it off exchange, because they can't do it on like a hard wallet. It has to be the custodian so they can keep track of things. Awesome. So I've covered ZRX. I'm gonna go ahead and take Tron from Facebook. Right, there's a request for Tron. So I do not see a bearish div on Tron on TRX, right? I don't see that. I'm gonna go Step away from a log chart just because it's kind of warping what we are seeing. I would keep a close eye on it over the next couple of days because I don't want to see an MA cross to the downside. Alright, we're seeing somewhat of a doji, so that could be a reversal candle. As for like a 4-hour chart, is it as bullish as what I highlighted earlier, like BAT? Well, it's not, right? It hasn't rebounded back as high. And RSI hasn't had a bullish div yet. The trend did bottom out on the 4-hour. We did achieve a trough on ADX, right? And now it's starting to head back up. I'd like to see the green line, the positive momentum move in and move back up. And then you guys, use that coin observatory login you have to access our net volume monitor. And if TRX starts loading up with a positive net volume, you're going to see that before anybody else. We need to throw a cloud on here. And it failed to hold support at the green cloud. Switching strategies one more time. I'm not too keen on Tron right now. Then again, I haven't checked any catalysts. We might see a rebound, but one thing I really want to look for right now, a place to deploy liquid BTCs or tokens that have essentially rebounded. They're gonna have the most positive momentum. You bet, Billy. All right, guys, looking on OCN for Vasily. Man, that's a good looking chart right there. Now I do see somewhat of a rising wedge here. I don't know if volume is sufficient to trade the sell. Well, I wouldn't call it a wedge, it's actually expanding. I want to see it expand out of the wedge. It's remaining bullish. Volume's 35 BTC on hit BTC, 668 on KuCoin, right? Okay, that is a good looking chart for now. I'm glad we found the higher volume exchange. This thing's completely defying the downtrend. It's not moving in unison with the entire market. This is refreshing. It's a good token to look at. Celia, I'd want to see what happens up here, right? If it can actually break above and start break above the channel, that would be nice. If it fails at the top of the channel, it might be an opportunity to profit take to buy back at support. Let me put some moving averages, run ADX strategy on here, and the trend is looking it's actually flatlining and about to head back up. ADX levels at 29. So I believe there's more room for an upwards push. Let me add regular RSI. And the last two peaks, let's look at the last two peaks. Not a big fan of RSI on here, especially since we had this much higher high, and now we're seeing these lower high RSIs. Go to 1 day. It might be time to start profit taking. Profit taking another, scale out of this one, potentially. It's bullish, but it's giving me mixed signals, and that's why it's a little tricky at this point. Or a trailing stop, or a stop below the range. If you want to ride this thing for a long, a stop at the 320 satoshis just below that support, in case it does come down crashing, you're not bag holding. You are welcome, D. Lopez. All right, guys, give me some more requests. Still got time to go. XRP. All right, Ripple on a 1-day chart. This I don't like. Right off the bat, I do not like this moving average cross. Right? I don't like that. RSI has not entered the oversold range. Stochastic has. The stochastic is showing somewhat of a divergence. I would want to wait for a regular RSI to confirm it. Right? The downtrend is actually flatline and starting to go up. You go to a 4-hour chart, see if it's doing what BAT's doing. And it's not looking as bullish as BAT, where that gap down happened and we got right back up. We do know that there is a class action lawsuit against Ripple, and that's where the news came out around here. And I talked about shorting it, but I was hesitant to do so. And I wish I shorted Ripple because, at 10x, it's 130% from just opening a short. I'm disappointed in my hesitation. All right, we cover Ether, Litecoin. So LTC would definitely we had oversold and it's bounced back up. I did have a margin long open on Litecoin. From like a long-term standpoint, if you look at Litecoin on like a 1-week chart, is it a 3-day? I think it's still bullish on a long-term holdings perspective, right? Because our MAs are still upwards, and I think it was LTC USD, where we were seeing this somewhat of a flag develop, and it did defy the downtrend, right? Litecoin is something that's traded on, it's a traded pair that's on Coinbase, where the entry to LTC isn't essentially just BTC coming in, but it's going to be more likely fiat going and coming into the market. On a 1-week standpoint, right, the reason we did issue the rack on it was the break above the downtrend. Another token that I issued such a rack on would be Mana. And Mana just happened to rally much faster. Let's go like to Mana 1 day. Right, and this was way earlier this alt season when I published on Mana. and you know, we signaled it right around here for this leg up. So back to Litecoin, I do believe we're still gonna see that upwards rally. Once again, you know, there's a unison where everything's been in a sell-off, and it's essentially trailing with BTC. But like on a one-day chart, we're seeing moving averages wanting to converge up above the 50 for a nice upwards break. Whenever we see that, we typically see the volatility come in and the gains pick up. Right, this was the last MA cross. You see this upwards motion. And then RSI wise, we do see quite a bit of RSI support. The downtrend is at an 80x trough, so I'm still bullish on Litecoin. Litecoin's one of those longer term holdings. It's going to mature a little slower than other alts. Ether. ETH's in unison with BTC. It did somewhat have a turn that failed, which would be this candle. But then Ether was also impacted by fake news, right? And it's actually holding up fairly well in BTC value, as you know, we're seeing the spread on from the all-time high in USD is negative 18% from the last high, but on BTC I don't believe it's as bad. I'm gonna go from the wick down. It's 5%, right? So ETH is essentially acting as a hedge. As BTC is being sold off, I believe some of that BTC is heading into ETH for a hedge. And you know, looking at it on a one-day, had we not had that fake news that caused this wick, right, this rejection wick, this thing was shaping up like a bull flag. Stochastic is starting to get back into this range. Where, you know, if it bottom, even if it stochastic bottoms out on ETH, we're still in a bullish div. I don't see any bear div on the standard RSI, so I'm still pretty bullish on ETH for the quarter. I did say ETH is going to have an explosive Q2, possibly an explosive year overall. So I'm still fairly bullish on ETH. More altcoin requests, guys. Facebook, YouTube, Discord. Guys and gals, no more requests. Somebody's typing. Waves, awesome. So I did signal waves yesterday. And some positive news came on waves today. Let me pull up that article. It was about smart contracts. It's on Newswire. Sorry about the white screen. NASDAQ. So there's an article about smart contracts being implemented on waves. That news came out today. It's actually still holding. It's defying the downtrend, right? Absolutely defying the downtrend. We see, we saw this sell-off on a lot of tokens, but then Waves is still holding that retracement level, and it's in this nice consolidation area. You know, based on what happens next, as long as we don't see a downwards MA cross, that would be nice, and we could expect another violent leg up. Lumens. I'm gonna go to CoinMarketCal before I dive into Lumens. So last I published on Lumens, I did say that we can expect it to retrace back down to some lower levels. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up what I published on here. Oh, where's my Lumen chart? Dang it. So back to Lumens. We know FairX is having another release at the end of the month, and I believe this is somewhat of a shakeout or a sell-off before the rally, right? Just a capitulation point before the next leg up. So FairX Exchange, May 31st. We got a beta release for beta. And more locations, right? So we're gonna see more coming out of Lumens here towards the end of the month. So it's still gonna be a decent holding until then. As for other leading indicators of note, such as the consensus, so your consensus is the biggest crypto conference, and there's gonna be a lot of speakers, and we're talking, not your typical conference. It's gonna be like regulators, ex-regulators, SEC, CFTC type of characters talking about possible options and integrations and what to expect. And that being said, I think there's going to be a lot happening post consensus. A lot of the presenters are going to deliver really high value content. And we're going to have boots on the ground. So anything that is worthy of note, we're going to publish on. I'm hoping our boots on the ground go Facebook Live with me, and we can essentially do a recap of every day they are there. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to out of consensus. And year after year, we do see several rallies happen post consensus. You are welcome, Watchman. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into Power Hour. Hopefully, we do see that nice bounce off that 7,900 range. Go back to XBT. And yeah, I explain to you guys why I'm still bullish. It is because of, ADX is coming down a trough. And, so long as it keeps doing so, it should be good. I'm not going to pre-run anything above 79. Sorry, above 79. Blender, one of our analysts brought this to my attention. I'll go ahead and pull it up. If we were to do an overlay of, I'm just going to copy link and drop it in here. If we do run an overlay of the 2015 bear market and where we are today, he does see, possible entries at 76 based on the overlay. I've been trying to stay away from the overlay, but the fact that I'm staying away from it and he's abiding by it, it's good because we have these conflicting opinions. and our spread on the new bottom is a couple $100, right? Which is not bad. And we each have our own reasoning for that spread, and we'll see how this plays out, right? And another thing that's mimicking this action, this is the area I had highlighted on our 1-day chart on ADX. That's when that ADX kind of flattened out for the upwards movement. So we'll see how the spread goes. We'll see how this spread goes, either 76 or 79, and hopefully that's bottom. I think below 79 is going to be below a fib level that I'm comfortable longing at, unless we see like another reversal formation, like a falling wedge or a diamond bottom, or like a mini Adam and Eve. Anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning into Power Hour. I hope I answered all your questions. I wouldn't quite lose confidence in the market, right? We still have two key levels to break, and we're in this for the long run. We're not in this to it's not like a get rich quick scheme. But if we do experience another bull market like we did the end of last year, we could get really wealthy in an exponentially faster amount of time. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed Power Hour. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Share this on your favorite Facebook crypto group, right? Tell your friends about GC. And yeah, that's our opinions on the market right now. I'll be on Discord, and we'll keep you guys updated with any findings.